What is up, you Titan fans? Titan Bros are back, ready to make another video for you. My name's Gabriel. This is Josiah with me today, and we are going to break down the Titans' options and free agency at wide receiver and tight ends. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not huge in the knowledge department when it comes to the draft prospects right now. Usually, I wait closer into March, on into like April, beginning of April, before I really start looking at people in the draft. So this is mostly going to be about free agents, if not fully about free agents.
Yeah, I agree. I would say usually as the draft comes closer and the season kind of ends, because technically the football season is not over yet, I start moving into more of the draft and studying that. So again, like you said, this is going to be mostly about free agents and about the players we already have in our locker room.
Yep, 100%. 100%. I wrote down, I use Spotrac, so I'm going to go ahead and give my shout out to Spotrac. Some people call it Spotrac, some people call it Spotrac, but Spotrac, I looked at what a lot of these free agents' projected market value is. I also wrote down their stats from last year via Wikipedia, so if I mess up in any of that, shame on Wikipedia. But we're going to go through, we're not going to spend as much time as we did on each quarterback because we only had like, 6, 7 options to go through. I got probably 20 names wrote down on this piece of paper first to go over. And then we're going to talk about whether or not we think we should, fully address this stuff in free agency, draft, both, whatever it is we think we need to do. And I wrote down 2 honorable mention trade options that we're going to get into. But before we get into the video, the news of the week is Tennessee Titans did indeed decide to go in-house with the hire of Tim Kelly as offensive coordinator. And some people are dramatic, but for the most part, the general consensus of the fan base is like, okay, all right, whatever. Because a lot of people said something I kind of agree with. If Tim Kelly was on a different staff last year, we brought in Tim Kelly, we'd be way more excited about it than we were promoting somebody in an offense that was absolutely garbage.
Yeah, I think promoting within is such a Titan thing to do, and it's such a Mike Vrabel thing to do. He likes to stick with his boys. He likes to stick with people he knows. I don't think he likes to expand out a little bit. I think something that annoys me the most about this is that we didn't even wait because we wanted to do Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy, but we didn't even wait to give them a chance. I think you told me off air, but Eric Bieniemy didn't want to go be interviewed. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, he basically said he's not taking any offensive coordinator interviews right now. He did interview with the Colts for head coach. So I think he's honestly holding out hope that he's going to get a head coaching job. So I think is what the issue was going to be, is he was going to wait to see if he got a head coaching job. And if he didn't, then he might start thinking about some of these OC interviews. I feel like it would have been in the Titans' minds anyway, just too far along to be hiring an offensive coordinator that late, because when they're picking up free agents and things like that, they got to think about what kind of offense they're even trying to run. So maybe I get it a little bit, but whatever.
Once again, I just think the Titans, we didn't interview enough people in my mind.
I think we interviewed 2 people. 2.
That's stupid. That's just dumb to me, and not a good look. I don't like it. Even if you interviewed 20 people and Kelly's who you end up with, then fine. I don't like it, but whatever. He blew you away in the interview. But I don't like the fact we only interviewed 2 people. I don't like that at all. I think let's get more options. Let's get more voices from outside the building, especially when, like you said, when our offense was so bad. Yes, he wasn't our offensive coordinator, but what was he, a passing specialist or something?
Passing game coordinator.
And guess what? Our passing game sucked. So, forgive me for not being too excited about it. But it is what it is. Again, and to be honest, if I was a bet man, I would have bet money that he was going to be offensive coordinator. I have a feeling Mike Vrabel already knew he was going to be offensive coordinator, and we kind of just went through the motions. And it is what it is. But sadly, being as a Titan fan, this is just what you're going to get for being a Titan fan.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Vrabel does like to promote his boys for better or for worse, or promote at least from within. But it's 1 or 2 options, or sometimes it's both. Get one of his boys that he either knew in Ohio State or when he was with Houston.
Yeah.
Or 2, promote from within, or 3, both. Like, technically, Tim Kelly. Yeah, Tim Kelly was one of his boys in Houston, but now he's with the Titans. So it was a both because he got promoted from within as well. Like Arthur Smith was not one of his boys, but he did get promoted from within. Shane Bowen. I think Shane Bowen was with the Texans when Vrabel was there. So that was one of his boys, plus a promotion from within. But then there was people like Matt LaFleur. I think he's the lone standout where he had no past relationship with him and just brought him in. But I was kind of glad he got hired as head coach because I didn't think he was a great OC.
I did either. I liked him better than Todd Downing, but I agree with you.
Yeah, well, those doesn't get much worse than Todd Downing. And honestly, Tim Kelly to live up to any kind of hype, if you want to call it that, all he has to do is just not have a bottom 4 or 5 offense.
Yeah, and I'll just say, open up the playbook. Let's just not every first and second down run. You know what I mean? Use some creativity. Throw the ball some.
Yeah, and Chigakonko, get him involved. I remember there's this one point where like some of the people I used to watch, or I still watch them, were talking. It was A to Z Sports, and they were talking, saying it was like 3 games in a row where Chigakonko only had 1 catch in each game, and 1 catch for 20 yards, a catch for 41 yards, and another catch for like another 30-something yards. I'm like, this dude's explosive when he's getting the ball. Just give him the ball, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. Well,
like,
yeah.
I don't get it. But anyways, there's your news update for the week. You want to hop in on tight ends or wide receivers first?
Let's go ahead and do tight ends, since we're just talking about tight ends.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do tight ends. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm concerned, the only tight end we really have on our roster is Chigakonko. I believe Jeff Swaim was a 1-year deal. Actually, no, it was. It's just a 1-year deal. So Jeff Swaim is going to be a free agent. Austin Hooper going to be a free agent. And then we have just people like Tommy Hudson that kind of stick around. These just no-name tight ends that are never going to be anything, quite frankly. I'm not even worried about that. In fact, in all honesty, Chigakonko might be our only tight end on our roster, who I like. I think he needs to be moving into the full-time number 1 tight end.
I agree.
And he's a second-year guy, so it's not like he's going to get cut or traded because of a cap casualty or anything like that. So Chigakonko, he's our guy. He needs to be our number 1 guy. I don't think we need to overpay for someone in free agency to put him as the number 1 and then Chig be number 2, because I think Chig was number 2 last year when maybe he shouldn't have even been. So
I'll say I agree. We need to keep Chig. But the thing about it is I would like to see him, and maybe he'll never develop as a blocking tight end. So it's not always so much, he's out, it's going to be a passing play. You know what I mean? So I like to see him become a 2-way. I would like to see us get some people that can block. Because like you said, we only have 1 guy really on the roster. So we got to bring in some people, okay? So, and I don't want Jeff Swain. I've kind of seen enough of him. And maybe Todd Downing has put a bad taste in my mouth with this guy because he shouldn't be catching that many balls. But we need a blocking tight end. We do need to bring some of those people.
Here's the thing. Now, Pro Football Focus is not perfect with its ratings, but Jeff Swaim was average to sometimes a lot of times below average at blocking.
Yeah, I agree.
It's pointless as a wide receiver or as a pass catcher.
Don't tell Todd Downing that.
Yeah, don't tell Todd Downing. Todd Downing loved him some Jeff Swaim. So I'm going to go ahead and say right now, I'm all out on Swaim. Even if we give him a league minimum contract, I'm 100% out bringing him back.
I agree with you. To be a blocking tight end, you got to be better than that. You know what I mean? He wasn't even good as a blocking tight end, and he was a blocking tight end. So I agree with you.
At least be an Anthony Fasano or something like that where you can actually block.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on him. And let's go ahead and touch on the other guy that we had last year, in Austin Hooper. Last year, we gave him a 1-year, $6 million contract. I think and last year, he also had 444 yards, 2 touchdowns. I liked Austin Hooper. He did have a drop once, I remember, but I remember later that drive, he had that weird, it was some sort of crazy play as a tip catch he had on 3rd down to keep the drive going. I don't even remember what game that was. Because I kind of the end of that season became a blur because I started growing more and more disinterested / frustrated, where I tried not to think about the Titans because when I thought about them, I got angry or annoyed or stressed. So as we were just going through that 7-game lose streak, I don't want to say I became disinterested, but I kind of distanced myself. So, but Austin Hooper, 444 yards, 2 touchdowns. I liked him for that value especially. Yeah. Our passing game was garbage. Josh Dobbs was only in the building for a couple weeks, and he is thrust into a starting role. Malik Willis doesn't even look like a NFL quarterback at all. Tannehill, he was just had an injury-ridden season. Let's call it what it is. He lost his one of his number one attributes, which is his mobility. So I feel like Austin Hooper just. Now, here's the problem I had with Todd Downing. At the very beginning of the season, Austin Hooper was getting less than 50% of the snaps. Jeff Swain was straight up the starter. Austin Hooper would come in relief duty. Just every once in a while, they'd put in Chig. At the very beginning, Chig was just a gadget guy because they would bring him in to run a halfback. Like, remember, we won one game. I don't remember which one it was, where it was like 3rd and 3, and Chig was lined up in the backfield and got open on 3rd down to get the last first down to where we could run the timeout. And it's like he was a gadget guy, which, again, this is all Todd Downing issues that I have. But Austin Hooper really started coming around at the end of the season, and his market value per Spotrac is 6.7 a year. So he made $6 million last year. They're saying he's going to make about 6.7 this year. I would rather be more like 6. But at the same time, who you pay that's actually a contributor in today's NFL, that's only $6 million, 6.7. I would be down for that. Maybe a 2-year deal. Give him like a 2-year, $13 million contract. Make it $8 million guaranteed. I would be all in bringing Austin Hooper back to that.
Yeah, I agree. I would be okay with that. Yeah, I think Austin Hooper is somebody. If you don't overpay him, he's good. But when you start overpaying, he's not going to be that. But I think he started off slow. But like you said, it might be because he wasn't on the field as much. Because I remember at one point thinking, this guy hasn't done anything for us. And as the season went on, he actually did better and better. Maybe it's because we had more playing time. But I agree. I think I would like to bring him back and have him and Chig again. That would be ideal for me.
Yeah. Now, here's one thing. This is going to hurt everybody, including people I don't like and want cut. You'll hear about this later, and Robert Woods. But because our offense was bad and we led the league in 3 and outs, none of our people's stats are where they should be. Like, if we just had a league average amount of first downs, that's so much more production that goes to every single person on our roster. True. We just do 3 and outs. We do the whole run, punt, run, pass, punt, run, pass, punt. We did that so many times it made me sick to my stomach. So it sounds like we're both all on board on bringing back Austin Hooper. So if we have Chig Okonkwo, Austin Hooper, that's a good 1-2 punch in my opinion at tight end, because our tight ends weren't a weakness last year, minus Swain, who had too big of a role.
Yeah. I think with that 3rd spot, I wouldn't mind us seeing us bring in an actual blocking tight end.
Yeah, agreed. About to say, if that's who we go with, Austin Hooper and Chig Okonkwo, we need a blocking tight end to be marched in there that's not named Jeff Swain. Now, I will say this. If we get any of the people on this list I'm about to read you, I don't want Austin Hooper. Because if we had whoever one of these people plus Austin Hooper, that'd be way too much money sunk into the tight end room. That would also, if we do some bad coaching, which we have done a time or two, that could push Chig Okonkwo down to 2nd or 3rd on the tight end depth chart, which I think he should not be. So let's go ahead and run through some of these names. Hayden Hurst. Last year, he had 414 yards, 2 touchdowns. His estimated value is 6.8. So literally his production is just slightly less than Austin Hooper. Same amount of touchdowns, about 30 yards less. Actually, exactly 30 yards less, but 0.1 million more expensive. Basically, they had the exact same season last year, and they're projecting about the same amount of money.
And if that's the case, why not just keep, to me personally, Austin Hooper?
Yeah, and Austin Hooper's a really hard-nosed, keeps to himself. He's not like not have to worry about him having any kind of drama issues or off-field issues or anything like that. He's already, like you said, used to the building and the coaching staff, even Tim Kelly, because Tim Kelly was in the building last year. So, yes, I agree with you. Basically, if you're getting 1 for 1, I would rather just keep hanging on to Hooper or sign him again. So like we're on the same page when it comes to that. Next one, Robert Tanyan. I don't know how you pronounce it. I don't even know how I heard it. But anyways, he had 470 yards. So he actually had a little bit more yards than the both of them. 2 touchdowns. And this is weird, but his projected value is only at $5 million. He's been the one for the Packers.
Yeah.
At $5 million, I would kind of be down for it. Like if we were really, really up against the cap, and let's say if Austin Hooper was wanting more like 8, 8.5, but you get Robert at 5, I would kind of lean more Robert. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder why he was projected so low.
Yeah, I don't know. And of course, a lot of these are just projections. And of course,
Yeah.
how old is he? Because you never know, and age might also be something that's
Yeah.
factored in there as well. So at 5 million, I'd be okay with, but I personally feel like he's going to get over 5 million. Of course, now a lot of times people are bigger names just because they play as big name quarterbacks. Like just because he played with Aaron Rodgers, I feel like some people just know him more.
He's 28.
28.
Not too bad.
Yeah. That's not too bad. So him, I would be okay with. Like if we went out there with Chig and Robert Tunyon, that would be fine. But again, that would have to be like 2 or 3 million cheaper than Hooper for me to want him over Hooper, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I haven't watched a lot of his tape or highlights or anything.
I heard the name and I know him a little bit, but not much.
No. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. And I think this guy played himself out of our price range. Evan Ingram, he went off for 766 yards and 4 touchdowns, which for him was a break year because he was kind of a bust as a first round pick. So I'm kind of, and his projected value is 9.3 million a year. Plus, I think he's solely a receiving option.
Yeah.
So I just don't feel like the fit's there. I'm personally out on Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I can also see the Jags recapturing him, signing him.
Yeah, which I wouldn't blame there.
Yeah, and I agree.
When you had by far the best year of your career, you probably just want to kind of stick there and make it keep happening.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I'm out on him. Now, this one is just way too expensive. Dalton Schultz of the Cowboys. And I'm not sure why he's projected to get so much because it was like 900 and something yards, not last season, but the season before that. 900 something yards, and they franchise tagged him. And he played under the franchise tag. He only had 577 yards, so that's 400 yards less, 5 touchdowns. But he's projected at 15.1 million a year.
See, I hate the that much money because I have 2 tight ends that I wrote down like I wouldn't mind getting. He was one of them, but it's because he can block decent. I mean, he's not great, but they said he's a decent blocker, and he's really good at catching stuff. Last year he had a knee problem. He missed some games. He came back, played a couple. Then I think he had missed a couple more games with it. So I think that's why his production is dipped. But what I think was what people think is he's a tight end that can do a little bit of both. And that's why he's so much. So I had him. Like I would not mind getting him. But what did you say? 15 million?
15.1.
That's pricey. Like that's what I will pay a Kelsey maybe and a Gronk. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to do quite Dalton Schultz for that.
That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. The only way I'd be down for him is if they say, bad knees is never good. Only had 500 yards, so bring your price down, baby. Maybe I'd be into it for that. But for 15.1, if it's anywhere near 15.1, count me out.
Yeah, to be honest, I would like to have him. He's probably the number tight end on the free agent I wanted for the right price, but I will say 15 million is not the right price for me.
Yeah, it's a little much. And then the last tight end I have on this list, Mike Gesicki. Gesicki, I guess it's always forget. Good. I'm pretty sure it's good. Mike Gesicki. He was a top tight end last year, and I think he got franchise tagged too, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think he got franchise tagged as well, but he only had 362 yards and a touchdown. Huge dip in production. Huge.
I heard that he didn't fit Mike Daniels' scheme, what he wanted to do with him, so that they all projected to cut him. So he will be someone available for sure. I wouldn't mind him because the last 2 people you mentioned is the last 2 people that I had on my list that I wouldn't mind getting. I like Mike Gesicki a lot, but how much did you tell me what he's projected?
Not yet.
Okay.
Also, he was buried under Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle as the people getting targets, so he just kind of became unnecessary. So they probably will give him the boot, or just not re-sign him. His projected value is 8.2, which
I can do that.
I can deal with that because if Austin Hooper's wanting 6.7 ish, 8.2 is not that much more. And I would say if anybody were to say who's better, Austin Hooper or Mike Gesicki, I would say Mike Gesicki is better.
Yeah, me too. I honestly could do that. Like honestly, if I say what I would do right now, and again, like you said, all these projection contracts is just that projection, nothing's concrete. But let's just go with 8 million. I would sign Gesicki with $8 million and then let Austin Hooper go. That's probably what I would do.
Yeah. So for me, that's officially. Do you have any more names? Nothing.
No, I put my top people down, and the last two people you said was my two people.
Gotcha.
Schultz and Gesicki. And again, thanks to your research of the contracts, I think you may have talked me out of Schultz because he was my number one. But Gesicki was number two. But now I'm feeling like maybe we should go after Gesicki. Not to mention, I think there is rumor that the Cowboys are going to franchise tag him again, Schultz. So I think that was going to be a long stretch anyway. So maybe we should think about getting Gesicki again because I think he will hit the free agent market because, like you said, I don't think he's as needed in the Dolphins' offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So I think that could be a possibility. Again, if he just wanting $11 million or something like that, then I say, okay, never mind. But $8 million, anything like that, I would be interested.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that obviously we ain't gonna do something like this, but like if we continue to have a heavy tight end formation type of offense, you could get Mike Gesicki at 8.2 and Robert Tonyan for 5, and that would be only 13.2. Both of them 13.2, which is less than Dalton Schultz with Chig Okonkwo.
Here's the thing, though. Do you want both?
No, I don't. But I'm just saying, if you could basically get both of those for the price. Actually, yeah, you could get Austin Hooper and Mike Gesicki for less than Dalton Schultz with these projections.
Yeah.
So again, Dalton Schultz, that projection is too high for me. I would say Austin Hooper, Mike Gesicki, either one of those, pair them with Chig, and then either draft late or league minimum franchise or a league minimum contract for a veteran blocking tight end.
I agree with that.
Okay.
That's actually. Do you want to say right now, finally, what we would want it to look like, or no?
That was kind of mine right there. I'm interchangeable. Either one. Austin Hooper at 6.7, Mike Gesicki at 8.2. Either one of those.
Yep. Chig and Gesicki is actually how I really want it. But if Gesicki wants too much money, then Chig and Austin Hooper. Again, basically the same thing we had last year. And then, like you said, it could be literally a no-name blocking tight end. Bring him in. I don't care who it is, as long as he can block, because Jeff Swain couldn't really block. So I don't know about you. This is a little off topic. I mean, a little chasing the rabbit. But how many times was the one play to Derrick Henry? He gets hit behind the line, and you just see Jeff Swain falling around because
just fall on the pile.
because someone just pushed right through him.
Or if there was like a screen, they throw a screen out to Derrick Henry, and you'd see Jeff Swain running his heart out trying to get in front of the play, but he's just too slow to get out there and block.
Yeah.
And sometimes he would catch the ball for 2 yards, and there's so much grass. And he would turn around also like an old man, and he'd be just going so slow, and people just come out of everywhere and just boom, he'd be like 5-6 yards.
Yeah,
which should have been like an easy big play. But anyways, so there's tight ends. I would be happy with any of that right there of those two options we just laid out. Wide receivers, we're going to have to go through them a little quicker this time because we're already 22 minutes in, and we have a lot of wide receivers.
Yeah, I thought tight end would be fast.
Yeah, I thought so too, but me bringing in these numbers kind of bring it a little bit more to the discussion. Yeah. All right. So wide receivers that are on our team right now, Treylon Burks, obviously he's going to stay. And I would love to see a huge step forward, like give him like about 1,000 yards this season. I would love to see that out of Treylon Burks. The health, I almost want to see health more than anything. But Treylon Burks. Robert Woods, me and you are in full agreement. You just dropped your phone.
Yes, I did.
We are both completely on the same page. Robert Woods needs to get the axe. If he does not get the axe, then we riot. We burn things in the streets.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because he was horrible. He was our leading wide receiver, which we talked about this before we started recording.
Unacceptably bad. Like I cannot believe how bad he was. Not in my worst dreams did I think he was going to play that bad.
Slow. Couldn't get open.
I was with you when we got the news that the Titans traded for him, and you was like, yes, just what I wanted. I'm so excited. I was specifically remember you saying that. Because I think before you even told me why, I heard you say yes. I'm like, I turned around and you told me we traded for him. Little did I know, by the end of the year, you'd be like, get rid of him.
Yeah. I mean, well, what's when we still had A.J. Brown?
Yeah,
so we had A.J. Brown, just traded for Robert Woods, and then we could draft a third receiver? Because imagine this, if we had A.J. Brown, Treylon Burks, and then Robert Woods is our number 3.
That would be nice.
I'm good with that. Now, Robert Woods being our number 1 wide receiver most of the season, Not okay with that.
Because Robert Woods wasn't a number one in his prime, really. You know, I don't think was he.
No.
Robert Woods was it? Not Robert Woods. Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. Yep. Good old Cooper Kuppers. Yeah. So cut him. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
I think we had like $2 million in dead cap if we cut him, and we saved like 12. So get him the heck out of here. So Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is a restricted free agent. I'm okay with him with a league minimal price, but then I think he's a good story. He's a good personality guy. He's been here his whole career. But at the same time, I'm also thinking us having a loyalty to players like that is kind of what's kept our wide receiver room lackluster. People like him and Cody Hollister both, where I'm like, yeah, they've been around the building for a while, but guess what? The position group that they play has been bad for a while, so maybe we should just let them go.
Yeah.
And one thing Mike Vrabel stressed, he said he really wants to bring in some youth and some speed. And Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is not fast.
So you wouldn't want to bring him in for a decent price, or you just done?
$1.5 million is the most I'd go for him. If he's gonna want, I've been here for a while, but get some production. If he wants, 4, 5, 6 million,
get him. Right.
That's me.
We do need more explosiveness from the receiving core. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, we do. Kyle Phillips and Racey McMath are both under contract. They're young. One's quick, one's fast. I say keep them around.
Yeah, well, there's really no reason to get rid of them after one season. But I think we both have to admit that was very disappointing that neither really could stay on the field at all.
No, Kyle Phillips, he just comes in, has 9 targets, 6 receptions, 66 yards, looking great, hurts his shoulder. A couple weeks later, hurts his hamstring, I think, and then he was done. He was gone.
He was the offseason darling, too.
Him and Racey McMath both. Racey McMath was catching deep balls every practice. No one could cover him on the deep ball.
And he did one in preseason.
Yeah, did one in preseason. Hurts himself in preseason. Doesn't come back until like 6 weeks left of the season. Caught a deep pass during the season as well, but our passing game was just nothing to talk about. So in my mind, if everything goes according to plan, we're down to Treylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, and Racey McMath as the wide receivers we have currently on the roster.
Okay. I agree. I don't know why, but you somehow almost talked me out of keeping of Westbrook-Ikhine because I liked him. I think I've always liked him a little more than you have, especially not last year, the year before that. I thought he was useful. This year he wasn't that good, and that's why I'm like maybe bring him back with a reasonable contract. For some reason, you kind of talked me out of it. He's just not explosive, and I just want more explosive out of us. But I mean, granted, receivers get hurt all the time, so you might need somebody to be a backup.
Okay, let's put it this way. I'm okay with him holding up a league minimal contract, holding up the back of our wide receiver.
Yeah, that's what
I do not want him fourth or third. I remember there was one game. I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year. One game where Nick Westbrook-Ikhine was literally our number 1 wide receiver for a game. And I'm like, come on. He wouldn't even make a lot of NFL rosters.
Mm-hmm.
And here he is as our number 1 wide receiver. What are we doing, J-Rob? But anyways, so let's go ahead and move on to free agents. There's a couple ones I'm going to go through real quick because Spotrac had nothing on them, and their stats were nothing worth mentioning. I can't speak. All right, we got Randall Cobb, washed up. Don't want him.
I agree.
Sterling Shepard. I'm interested. He was started off really good last year. He torched us for a big play, like 60-yard touchdown in week 1.
Yep.
He's just always been a solid. I think, not a good person to compare him to. He reminds me a lot of Robert Woods. Never a number 1, but a top of the market number 2.
Yeah. I don't.
Old-fashioned top of the market number 2. You might be like, what do you mean by that? Used to, the number 2 guy was a guy that nobody would think was a number 1 somewhere else. He's just number 2 guy. He's reliable. He's good, because he gets the favorable matchups and all that. I feel like today's NFL, every team has 2 number 1 wide receivers now.
Yeah, that's what makes all receiving calls such a joke.
Because we might not even have 1.
Yeah, exactly.
But Sterling Shepard, if he were to take $3-4 million, I would be interested in bringing him.
Yeah, that's true.
Spotrac had nothing on him.
I didn't put him on my list, but you know what? He would be all right. He would be a decent person. But again, I just don't know if he moves the needle to make our receiver call really good and explosive,
Let me put it this way. I would be okay with Sterling Shepard as a Nick Westbrook-Akina replacement
Yeah,
as the number 4/3-ish, somewhere around there.
I agree with that.
I got N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
What a bust. He was in the same draft, drafted in the first round, as the same draft with A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf in the second, Deebo Samuel in the second, Terry McLaurin in the third.
That was a good receiving pool, except for him.
It was. That's seconds and third round picks. And then there's him. The worst two receivers of big names in that draft was him, N'Keal Harry, and Marquise Brown. Hollywood Brown, as they call him.
Oh,
was
he
also
was-
first round. Yeah,
Yes.
which he's all right. He's a first round.
Yeah, the 2 first rounds was the 2 worst of the draft.
Yeah, but N'Keal Harry, what a swing and a miss. Even at league minimal deal, I don't think.
No, I don't.
The last one was Jamison Crowder. He's just another one of those guys where I'm like, maybe a Nick Westbrook-Akina replacement with a very cheap veteran contract at the 4th or 5th wide receiver on the team. Nothing more.
I'll say this. I think we both agree. Sadly, this free agent receiver does not really make us so much better. The 2 names I have is, and is that everyone you had?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go
I
ahead.
got like 7 more names.
Oh, okay, go ahead then.
T.Y. Hilton. I would have been okay with it because he joined super late. Super late. Who did he join?
Cowboys.
Cowboys. Yeah, because he torched us on Thursday Night Football. Anyways, he joined super late, but his market value is 6.2. Get him out of there for that. DJ Chark. I wanted to add him super cheap last year, but last year he had 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. So his projected value, 9.5.
Why?
That sounds like a lot for 500
Yes.
yards, 3 touchdowns, and you won't give him 9.5 million. I'm out on that.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that I would be okay with for this price. Matt Collins. Ever heard of him?
No.
He played for the Raiders last year.
Okay.
He came in for Hunter Renfrow, basically. He took a lot of those play time. I remember he torched us for like 150 yards and a couple touchdowns. He actually had 690 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. His projected market value is only 2. I can't tell if I wrote 2.9 or 2.4. I think it's 2.4. That's a lot of production for that little amount of money. If we can get it. I think he was like a tallish slot guy that had some speed. I think is what kind of how he was. I would be okay with Matt Collins for 2.4. Now here's one I'm out on, who I was interested in, but here's another one of situations where he only gets the name recognition, just like Robert Tonyan gets it because he plays with Aaron Rodgers. Mecole Hardman for the Chiefs. He's literally playing in the Super Bowl as we are recording this video. 297 yards and 3 touchdowns, all he got. Now, he was hurt some. His projected value is $11 million a year.
Yeah, that's a little high.
Really high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, do you have anything to say about any of these yet?
No, that's well again. Like I said, none of these names jump up at me. None of these names are good.
Let me put it this way. None of these names I want to be our number 1 or number 2. Like, even the people that I'm kind of interested in, like Matt Collins, I don't want these being 3 at tops. Number 3 on the depth chart.
And that's the thing. It's hard to get excited for, oh, we got a third, we just signed a 3rd string receiver, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. The next one, Paris Campbell, you know him?
Yeah.
He was kind of the T.Y. Hilton replacement. He's like a fast guy that they brought in, and obviously he's been kind of a bust because he kind of had a breakout year, but his breakout year was 581 yards and 3 touchdowns. But I would bring him in as well because his market value is only 2.5.
Dang, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, so for 580 yards and 3 touchdowns, I would pay someone to. Actually, let me put it this way. If he was on our team last year and did that, he would be our number 1 wide receiver in yards.
Yeah.
So for 2.5 million, by golly, I'll take it. Now, here's somebody who I think is probably playing himself out of our price range, but unfortunately, Spotrac didn't have anything on him. But Juju Smith-Schuster,
I have
Do you
him.
have it? He had 933 yards and 3 touchdowns. I like that, but I'm afraid, again, with playing for Steelers and Chiefs, 2 big teams, his name will be too big for his production.
Somebody's gonna throw him a big contract that he
Yeah.
does. So I agree, but I think he's still good.
I think he's good.
He's a big receiver, and I would like to have him. Again, almost 1,000 yards this season. It's I know I say this a lot. It's all about that money, and I can see him wanting too much. But even for a decent amount of contract, I might be okay with getting him. But
Okay, let me put it this way. How much would you be willing to pay him?
what receivers going for right now? Lots.
Number 2.
But
There was number 2 because number 1s are going for like 20 to 25 million a year.
15? Is that too much for you?
Maybe a little. I was thinking like 11 or 12.
Okay.
But that's just me.
The problem is you and I both, I think, would be stingy general managers. Most of these
Yeah,
people
I don't think we'd have very many good players. We just have a bunch of no-namers because we ain't paying nobody squat.
because we don't want to pay anyone money. That's why I said I think we would have to pay him a little more than he deserves. And sometimes that's the name of the game in free agency, as long as you don't go too crazy.
Yeah.
But we need something. Bring someone else in this receiving room as is. I just need some help, and Juju could be some solid, not just like he's all right, but I think he'd be good.
Here's how I would do it with Juju: 11 million incentives can get him up to 15 million. Because if he goes off and gets 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns, sounds like he's worth 15 million to me.
Yeah,
that's how I would do that. But if he's just going to come in, have about 620 yards and 3 touchdowns, then he can sit at his 11 millions and might come a cap casualty in a year or so.
Yeah.
So Juju, I'm more excited about him than anybody else on the list. But again, Paris Campbell, Matt Collins, good value if that's how much they actually go for. But we'll see. These next 2, I'm 100% out on. Jakobi Meyers, for whatever reason, he's like kind of the number 1-ish wide receiver on the market. 800 yards and 6 touchdowns is what he had last year. Decent, solid production, especially with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi kind of, leapfrogging each other at the beginning of the year. And then Mac Jones just being, in my opinion, I've always thought he's very lackluster. That's just me on Mac Jones. Like, I feel like Mac Jones doesn't do anything extremely well. Like, he's solid, decent at certain things, but anyways, he projected at 12.5. And that sounds pretty steep to me.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. I was saying, because he's not even 1,000-yard season.
No. And the next one fetching the exact same amount is Allen Lazard, also at 12.5. He had 788 yards and 6 touchdowns. And I'm just like, I don't know. Especially with Vrabel talking about us getting fast. Allen Lazard's like a better version of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, in my opinion. In fact, they always remind me a lot of each other. Both tall. They're both tall. They're not huge, but slightly bigger receivers, tall. And I don't know.
I agree. Did it has a projected contract?
12.5.
So, yeah, you did say that. That's a little much. Because I have him for the right price. I wouldn't mind getting him, but 12 sounds a little high.
8 or 9.
Yeah.
I think I could do 8 or 9.
Yeah.
12.5 is a little much.
I agree.
Maybe we could trade for Aaron Rodgers and he'll come over for a little bit cheaper price.
I don't know if Aaron Rodgers wants to be behind our offensive line.
No, it wouldn't be good for him. Bless his heart. All right, the last name I have on here is Marvin Jones Jr. He had 529 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. 3.4 million projected.
I could do that.
I could do that.
I like him.
But again, not to be thrust in a number 2 role.
No.
I want 3.4 to be our number 3 wide receiver behind Traylon Burks and somebody else.
What I don't like about this free agent list, there's no 1s in my opinion, and then there's only a couple 2s.
Yeah.
A whole lot of 3s.
Like Randall Cobb, probably out of the league. Sterling Shepard, number 2 at best, but probably 3. N'Keal Harry, get him out of here. Jameson Crowder, pointless. T.Y. Hilton, no. G.J. Chark, number 3. Matt Collins, number 3. Mecole Hardman, number 3. Paris Campbell, number 3. Juju's number 2. possibly number one. He would be the best on the list, in my opinion. Jacoby Myers should be number two. Alan Lazard's number two, maybe number three. And then Marvin Jones also number three, maybe a number two. But I wouldn't be thrilled if Marvin Jones was our number two going into the season behind Treylon Burks. So, yeah. Honorable mention I want to throw out there. Corey Davis could very much become a cap casualty and get the axe. If that happens, I would be okay with him coming in and signing a reasonable contract at $5-6 million a year. But that's because Corey Davis. I just read Mike and said Mark for some reason, but Corey Davis has always been my boy. I always like me some Corey Davis. That's just me. I think he gets injured too much.
Problems. He was hurt a lot in New York, wasn't he?
Yeah, both years he didn't finish the season, and he had injury issues in his rookie season, and I think he just kind of had a little ding ups here, there, and yonder. So kind of. The last two things I want to bring when it comes to wide receivers is a couple trade options. A lot of people are saying the Bucs are going to go into a rebuild.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, 29/30. I think it'll be 30 right before the season, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Mike Evans has got the longest active streak in the NFL of what?
1,000-yard seasons.
Correct. Some of the years, I think he had 1,006. So he's just, what, you want to say something?
Computer's about to die.
Sorry about the technical difficulties we had. We got Josiah back. We were talking about trades, and Mike Evans got the longest streak, broke an NFL record of the most 1,000-yard seasons. So they're saying the Bucs are more than likely going into a rebuild mode now that they basically had all the chips on the table, pumping all their money into this to make sure they could win some Super Bowls with Brady. Brady's gone, so now it's kind of like cut everything, cut everyone, and just start over from scratch, basically. Mike Evans could be a trade target, in my opinion. I would not trade anything more than a third round, but I would trade a third-round pick for Mike Evans.
I would be okay with that. He's not too old. I wouldn't mind getting him. He would be someone that, to me, would move the needle on our receiving core. He would be somebody that could be actually a true number one, and that would kick Treylon Burks to second, and I think then he would, would do better because we would have more favorable matchups.
Agreed. I agree. So I'm down with that one. The other one, this one's more pricey, but more upside. And I'm sure you've probably heard rumors about this kind of guy being on the trade market. T. Higgins. Tall receiver, big receiver, fast receiver. I think he had, 1,100 yards this year? Like, he's been killing it for the Bengals. You might have to say, why is he available? The reason he's going to be available is he's only got 1 year left on his contract. 1 year. And they got to be saving money for Burrow and Chase. Yeah. So it's kind of become a situation where most NFL analysts say basically T. Higgins is the odd man out. So he does not have a long-term future with the Bengals. And why would you let him just walk in free agency after the 2023 season when you could get, probably a pretty nice draft pick for him this year?
Yeah, that actually makes perfect sense, though, and that would be a good move as well. How old is he? Do you know?
I think he's only 23. That's another thing. He's already played all these years in the NFL. He's only 23. I would say look it up on your phone, but you're talking on your phone because your computer died.
I'm on my computer.
Oh, are you on your computer?
Yeah. T. Higgins is... Well, his seasons, he had 900 yards, 1,000 yards, and 1,000 yards, so not bad. But anyway, how old is he? He is 24.
24. I would be all for that. I would even go for second-round pick. Would you second?
Sorry, go ahead.
Would you trade a second round for him?
Yes.
Me too.
No number one, I don't think. Maybe. But I would say him and Treylon Burks, 1 and 2, that sounds pretty good to me.
I would take that. So if I'm just being super aggressive and hopeful, my official wide receiver plan for 2023 would be trade for T. Higgins. We got Treylon Burks and go with either a Paris Campbell at 2.5 or a Matt Collins at 2.4 and add them to the list. And that would be a revamped, retooled wide receiver market.
Man, I like that T. Higgins thing. because I wrote mine down and I had Juju instead. But if we do the T. Higgins things, I don't really have to have Juju. But T. Higgins, Traylon Burks, Racey McGrath, Kyle Phillips. How many receivers I just named? That's like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you want to throw in those cheap people in there, like you said, I'll be like Campbell. Yeah, I'll be okay with that. What was Marvin Jones' price range?
3.4-ish.
That's not bad. He'd be a good. I almost feel like that's too many good receivers. Like someone like him, I'd be like, well, I'm not getting enough balls to go there and just if I was a 4th string receiver or something. But yeah, that actually would make our receiving room actually pretty decent, I would think.
Yeah. So
because again, you have to remember we have Racey McGrath and Kyle Phillips, so we have no idea what they're going to bring to the table.
Agreed. Now, I would say I would be for saving the money for Marvin Jones, Paris Campbell, Matt Collins, anybody like that, if we used a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a wide receiver.
Well, that's true.
They would be cheaper and they would just be able to assume the role. I'm going to have to do some diving, some studying into the wide receivers in the draft to see how I feel about that. But honestly, that's already the end of all I have to say about the wide receivers.
Yeah.
So if we can't trade, if there's no trade targets, you're probably right, Juju. I would take of the top wide receiver free agents, which McCole Hardman's getting way too much projected. McCole Hardman, Allen Lazard, Jacoby Myers, Juju. I would go Juju, and then maybe another cheap one, like you said, or a 2nd or 3rd round, a day 2 draft pick. Traylon Burks, we already got him, and then I would be much more excited about those than what we marched out with last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Actually, I agree with what you just said. Let's hope we do that. Let's hope we focus on offense a little bit this offseason. I think we desperately need help. Our defense wasn't great last year, especially at times. Maybe you could blame injuries for that. But I think our defense is better than our offense. Our offense was just terrible last year. So I think if we can focus on this receiving core and offensive line, which we'll have another video about that, and lively up this offense a little bit. You know, it was just hard to watch, the 3 and outs. You said we led the league in it. Yeah, it was just hard to watch. So I think receiver core and offensive line. We got to focus on that. We just got to. Because I think you and I both agree. I'm pretty sure Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, we're going to have those. So we know what running back and quarterback's going to look like. It's the offensive line and receiving. We got to retool and get something that's different than we had last year.
Yeah, I agree. So is there anything else in closing remarks, or is that about all you had?
That's about all I had.
Okay, so if you're watching this Rand Carthon, we just gave you some really good ideas of things you could do to revamp and retool us there. So our next video is going to be about that offensive line as well as the running backs. So make sure you tune in for that. Please like and subscribe so we can grow the channel. The bigger we get, the better. And honestly, the bigger it gets, the more time and energy I'll put into it. As terrible as that sounds. But we'll see y'all in the next video. Tighten up. The Titan Bros are out.